What's up, OGI family? Welcome into the Sunday afternoon, evening recording of the next podcast. I hope you all enjoyed the roundtable discussion with my long time friends, Lena, Scott, and Terry. And as I effort to continue those kinds of sort of roundtable or guest discussions of various topics, as I continue to build what I want to do, which is to go back in time and do a good old-fashioned variety talk show where you can just come in and feel like you're hanging with friends and family and just chill. There's way too much angst and anxiety in these spaces on these platforms, and I'd like to just have a little bit more fun, wouldn't you? So I appreciate all of you new subscribers, and you OGs and long timers. As I build this, if you notice the number of subscribers, it's a very low number, and I don't do marketing because, I mean, it's probably stupid, but just want to do what I want to do, have a little fun, talk to my friends, and if the show grows organically, then so be it. So if you think you know anybody else out there who might have a good time along with this, or if you know anybody who wants to participate, you know somebody interesting that wants to jump on and bat it around with us, then by all means share this out. Boy, we've made a blood sport out of generational warfare, haven't we? It's become this thing. There's always been friction between generations because that's normal. It's growth. And I have a formula for the healthy growth of society through generational progression, which we'll talk about next time. But I'll set it up with what I'll call story time with Schroeder as we get through this. So let's see if we can figure out how to spend more time trying to determine what our common values are, where our Venn diagrams overlap, and see if we can make a little use out of that instead of trying to constantly tear each other down and destroy each other. All right? So we're going to call this, this is OGI Podcast 7, and it's called Burnt Bridges. I hope you enjoy. Also, thank you for somebody gave a pointer about audio, and I realized the audio was a little suboptimal on the roundtable episode, but we had one recording on his phone, one recording using a podcast microphone, and one recording using a laptop microphone. So it was tough to mix, but and I am a devotee of good audio. So I thought it sounded okay. And it wasn't perfect. It wasn't studio quality, but that's not what we're doing here. I try to be that way, but somebody remarked that my volume was a little low, and I noticed that too. So I made some adjustments, and hopefully that this is a little bit better. All right, here we go. Regards and good wishes, people of the world. The statement, everything means nothing and nothing means everything, has taken on a new meaning in these times. It seems that all the things that make us human, all the mundane and miraculous, have been declared meaningless, while the mindless nonsense, the useless nothingness we vomit into the universe from our digital devices and counterfeit existence has been given preeminence. We have failed the ultimate test. Or are we just failing? Is it recoverable? We're collapsing humanity because no one told us not to. Can we turn it around?
4, 3, 2, 1.
Let's get into it, shall we?
Clock has started.
Oh, yeah. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good day to you all. I hope this message finds you truly well and joyful, and that you have not surrendered to the darkness. Thanks for joining me here on OGI. I am your host, Scott Schroeder, always flesh and blood, never AI generated. It's me and my voice, just the way it should be. I'm grateful for a little bit of your valuable time, and your active support helps the show survive and advance. So wherever you're consuming this across the platforms, please do all the things, click all the stuff that helps, that we know it helps, and it's a pain in the ass pandering for this kind of stuff. But like the episode, subscribe to the channel, or if you're on the podcast side, do all the same things over there and leave ratings and reviews, because unfortunately it helps. But on the fortunate side, we like to get your feedback. If we're making stuff over here, we hope it has some value to you guys out there. And so we'd like your feedback, like I got about the audio and video stuff. Appreciate that. Okay. Story time with Scooter. My name is Scott Schroeder. I was born in 1969 on a U.S. Air Force base west of Tokyo, Japan, to American parents, mom from Western New York and dad from North Georgia. From the age of 2, I grew up in Marietta, Georgia, about 20 miles north of downtown Atlanta. My dad's paternal side of the family was mostly from the upstate of South Carolina, which is now where I actually live, coming full circle. And when I was a little kid, between the ages of 7 and 12, I would pack up and ship out every summer with my grandparents, Nana and Granddaddy, and we would make our way east to a farm that was in the family near McCormick, South Carolina, just over the Savannah River and a million miles from much of anything else. The old house sat among the persimmons and pecans and pines at the end of a very long driveway on I don't know how many acres, but there wasn't another house anywhere near us. There was electricity, but we had a well for water, which I fetched when I was old enough, and there was no AC. We brought food and provisions, but we also fished most days and ate what we caught, along with beef and game from friends and neighbors and fruits and vegetables from the trees and garden. There was work to be done to maintain the house and the land, from which I was not excluded, but much of my day during these weeks was filled with roaming and play. Some evenings, people would drop by and we'd all sit on the screen porch and snap beans, and I'd listen to the old folks talk and tell stories until blue hour, when it was dark enough to chase lightning bugs, or fireflies, depending on where you're from, where you grew up. Dark was bedtime, when everyone would wash up and we'd lie in bed with the windows open, listening to the crickets and the cicadas and the sounds of Ernie, Pete, and Skip calling the Atlanta Braves game on radio. In the mornings, we were up at first light because the body in its natural state is attuned to the rhythms of the sun. The day held whatever the day held. Chores, play, nothing. Every now and then, we'd drive the 20 or so miles to Abbeville, where my granddaddy was from, and many of our relatives still live, just to drop in and visit with folks. On these days, my grandparents would also take me to the Five and Dime in town, and I'd get an ice cream cone. These were great days. After, really, I don't know how long, we'd pack up and head back home to the big city suburbs and air conditioning and my friends and school. Regular old middle-class normal life with all its minutia and routine and comforts. So why in the hell am I telling you all of this? This isn't an influencer marketing campaign for simple life homesteading or decluttering. It's not a tale of way back when things were so much better. It's not a story about living in the past or romanticizing how things used to be. I rather enjoy air conditioning supermarkets and Amazon Prime. It's a narrative about the value of bridging generation gaps and being connected to the past so that we can understand our common values and diverse experiences. Through my time with my grandparents, I was able to gain a bit of understanding and connection to what their lives and even the lives of their parents and grandparents were like when they were kids, while building my own version of life in my time and under my own circumstances. For a couple hundred generations, you had to make a giant leap across time to find significant, meaningful differences in the daily lives of people. And really, from antiquity through the turn of the century, there wasn't much difference at all across the global human spectrum. Even me. I was born in 1969, and there wasn't a fundamental difference between me and my grandparents who were born in the 19-teens in how life was conducted. And I don't mean gadgets and toys and luxuries. I mean the fundamentals of living. There was a connectivity between generations that was valuable. This was the cycle of humanity for all human history. You learn from the past, create your present, and give to the future. Then something broke. The natural arc of human development was fractured somewhere around 2012-ish when smartphones became ubiquitous and everyone thought it would be a fantastic idea to shove them into the hands of children. And that's when the bridges began. And that's when the bridges between generations began to burn and collapse. From that moment, the outside world was shut down in favor of the digital world right there in your hands. People weren't compelled to interact anymore. Kids, parents, and grandparents shut each other out with screens and headphones. Music, art, and culture were no longer being shared across generations anymore. 3 or 4 generations could be sitting in a living room together, and they might as well have been on different planets. Outside of the fundamental damage inflicted by shutting down awareness of the surrounding world, people began to stop sharing time and experiences. They stopped sharing experience and wisdom. Rather than reading, listening to the radio, or watching TV together, everyone shut down and did their own thing, and I mean everyone. No one is without responsibility in this catastrophe. The connection between generations began to sever. Even worse, the digital silos being erected became portals for unchecked thought viruses emanating from the most dark and evil recesses of the World Wide Web, the worst of which was the ability for those whose goal for about 150 years had been the destruction of the family to pump this message nonstop directly into the developing minds of children. The basic message? Your parents, grandparents, and by extension, everyone in society older than you is ignorant, evil, and worthy of nothing but to be destroyed. And here we are. Boomers, Gen X, Millennials, Gen Z, Alphas can't and refuse to understand and relate to one another, and seemingly all hate and trash one another. Seems like the mission to break society is near completion. Now, there's nothing revelatory here, folks, because I want you to go look this phrase up under things that make you go, There's nothing new under the sun. I'm simply hollering universal truths into this microphone that you've been conditioned to believe don't matter or are irrational or false. There's always been friction between generations. It's normal. It's healthy. But any individual, group, or institution that would aggressively teach the youthful that the wisdom of age and experience is irrelevant or somehow corrupt is a malevolent force bent on the destruction of humanity. It's the pinnacle of arrogance in its worst form. As the poet John Milton imparted in Paradise Lost regarding the fall of Lucifer, and as summarized by Jordan Peterson, evil is the force that believes its knowledge is complete and can do without the transcendent. And as soon as it makes that claim, it instantly exists in a space that is indistinguishable from hell. This is why I'm here. A lonely voice in the wilderness, willing to die on this particular hill in the battle to save humanity, and trying to remind people that we need one another and everyone has value. I invite you, the isolated and lonely keepers of reason and balance, and of generosity, grace, integrity, and morality, to join me here as we attempt to elevate one another above the vast and tumultuous sea of dummies, clowns, ne'er-do-wells, and malevolence. Let's bring back esteem for initiative, fortitude, encouragement through challenge, equanimity, courage, justice, temperance, and wisdom. I hope you can find something of value in this message and share it out to the world. And if you have anything you feel is of value to the world, by all means share it with me. I embrace the Socratic belief that I know nothing but my own ignorance. Remember your principles. Remember your foundation. Remember who you are, and find your purpose. That is enough to ponder for now. This episode is dedicated to those lonely warriors still fighting for the preservation of humanity in a detached world. OGI can be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Riverside.fm, Podbean, and everywhere else in the podcast universe. And episodes and other content will also be posted all across the socials and the platforms. You can find OGI everywhere. Please subscribe, rate, and review, because your active support is critical and I appreciate it. And as you go forth today, remember that life is all trial and error. Try to do better than yesterday. Live, laugh, love, be mindful, be fit, be authentic. If that's all you have, today will be a good day. Peace out, homies, and see y'all next time.